Hello, everyone, Trailblazing families and World Schoolers and World Schoolers to be. I am so excited. I have like three of my favorite people here. Well, I have two people that I've met in real life, and I'm going to meet another one of these wonderful ladies in 2 weeks, I think. So super excited to have them here. Let's see. So upper left on my screen, we have Rachel Carlson. And she is running the Worldschool Pop-Up Hubs. I think that's the name of it. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then in my bottom left, oh, I think it's different on Facebook. Anyway, I have Patty Rojas, and she runs Anahata in Mexico outside of Cancun. And then we have Emmy, who is running the Bansko hub that I am currently at for the second year in a row. So welcome, everyone. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Good, thanks.
Thank you for having us.
Let me just double check that we are live. Yep, we are live. Good. Okay, so it's going to take probably a minute or two for people to start coming. But let's go ahead and start off. And I just wanted to mention that the first Worldschool community that I went to was Stone Soup. I talked about it yesterday with Carrie Shin because I interviewed her yesterday. And this is where I met Patty. And it was the first time that I had experienced a Worldschool community. I had heard of another Worldschooler, unschooling dad, Carlson, who's a German guy. When I started researching Worldschooling, I found his YouTube videos. They're the Sundance family. So he and his wife and 6 kids have been traveling for way longer than us. But he did have a meetup with a bunch of German-speaking families in Thailand. And I thought that was such a cool idea. And then when I heard about the Stone Soup pop-up in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, went to that, enjoyed it so much, met amazing families like Patty's. And there was about 40 families there. And then I remember, Patty, you telling us, hey, I'm going to be renting this resort in the Yucatan, and we're going to live in community, because the Stone Soup, we rented our own places, right? And we just showed up to a co-working space. But you actually were going to have people live in the same complex, the resort. And I thought that was an amazing idea. And then later on, I was able to come visit it. So that was awesome. So anyway, welcome, ladies. I just wanted to find out a little bit more, let's share a little bit more about you. So Patty, since I've been talking about you, let us know where you're from and how many kids you have and what their ages are.
Yeah, I'm originally from Mexico. I was raised in the DC area, and just had family back in Mexico, so I travel back and forth a lot. I have 3 kids: Sebastian, who's 15, Valentina, who's 13, and Rafael, who is 10.
Awesome. Okay, and Rachel, what about you?
We are Americans and originally from the state of Wisconsin. We've always traveled a ton with the kids because we liked to go somewhere warm and sunny in the winter just for a little bit. And then it helped us get through that winter section. So currently my kids are 18 and the 18-year-old has moved out of the house. And I travel with my younger kids who are 15 and 13.
Awesome. Okay. And Emmy, what about you?
I am from the Netherlands. I'm traveling as a single mom with my 15-year-old daughter and my 9-year-old son. My 15-year-old daughter is helping. Now she's like my co-founder of Worldschool in Bansko and Worldschooling Netherlands. And we've been traveling for over 10 years already.
Wow. And you and I met in Mexico in Playa del Carmen, and that was kind of like a casual hub. I mean, our friend Janique was organizing a lot of meetups at the park and at the beach and all of that, but there was no, we weren't living together. So that was kind of one of the first hubs, I guess, that I had, casual hubs that I had experienced. So it was great to meet you. And we both went to the Project Worldschool Family Summit. Patty, you were there as well, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's where we met, right?
Exactly.
In Playa. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so why don't you all just quickly say what motivated you to take the plunge into the Worldschooling lifestyle? Patty, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure, definitely. We actually kind of started Worldschooling before we kind of knew what Worldschooling was. I was in a corporate job, and we moved to Bolivia for 6 months. And it was, the idea there was just, you know, we want to spend more quality time with the kids, you want to explore. I was able to work remotely, so it kind of worked out. But while we were there, we just loved the experience. We're like, oh, how can we get more of this? And so we just kept looking online, and then I just ran into a video, Lainey's video, that there's a word called worldschooling. And I just felt like it was so great that we had like all these passions in one, right? I love traveling. I love alternative education. My kids were homeschooled, and it was just, it was amazing. I was like, whoa, what is this new world? So I would dive in, and I found a Facebook Worldschooling group, and I would follow them. And, you know, just all my life I've really just traveled. Like, you know, when I was 13, I had my first trip. And when I was 17, I was in London. I guess just always, it was always part of my life, traveling. And of course, since I was living in the States and I had my family in Mexico, we would, you know, travel back and forth. And so, yeah, so then after we lived in Bolivia, we moved back to DC for work. We were originally going to stay in Bolivia for a year, but when we moved back, we were just, every year we're just like, okay, now, you know, this is the year, how can we make it happen? And of course, you know, it was either, you know, financial, or just making sure that we had, you know, something stable coming in. And so it just kind of, we just kind of started, it took 3 years to actually take the plunge after we came back from Bolivia. And then we just did it. I mean, I think the real push was my dad was sick at the time, and then this opportunity happened that the hotel was available, and then we just originally we were not going to do a community, we were going to do something else, and then we just, you know, just quit my job, you know, quit the rat race, and left DC and came to Mexico. And I think
that's when I met you.
That's when we met, exactly. And that was the first community we went to, and that's where actually Anahata was born, right? At the Stone Soup with the masterminds there.
Awesome. Okay, Rachel, what about you? Why did your family decide to take this leap and leave the regular life? I guess the cold winters?
That was a huge motivating factor for sure. So we ended up buying a house in fantastic community. We had a really, really amazing school system, great group of friends. And yeah, we just weren't traveling as much as we wanted to. And back in 2014, we just sold our house with no plan at all. We're like, we'll figure it out as we go. But we just knew that house was keeping us in the area, even though it was a perfect place for us to be. There was just that inkling, like there's something more for us out there. We don't know what it is yet. We sold our house. We ended up moving into our friend's basement. I'm like, there's 5 of us. So it was just her and her daughter. She said, oh, well, of course I know how many there are. I wouldn't have invited you. And so we hung out there for a couple months. And then one day my husband said, you know, we could move to Hawaii. I was like, oh, we could. So we did that. We lived in Hawaii for 2 years. And after that, we came back to the mainland, and we drove all the way across from California over to South Carolina. And finally, we're like, oh, I think we could live here. So we lived in Hilton Head for 2 years. And we had been renting fully furnished at that time. And the kids were in public schools, which was a great way to just become part of the community there. And one day, again, my husband, he was the catalyst. He said, we're paying for a fully furnished rental. We could be paying for a rental anywhere. And we're like, oh, yes. So the only thing we needed to add at that point was the homeschooling. So we let the kids finish that school year. So we were there 2 years. And then we just said, all right, you know, already our belongings were pretty small because we had sold everything off when we sold the house a few years earlier. So basically now we just travel in carry-ons. We just have one check bag that we move around with us, but we've been fully mobile almost 5 full years now. And it just started with the goal of let's try this for a year and see what happens. And we just loved it. And yeah, we've had to adapt our travels quite a bit as the children have gotten older because they have their adolescence, right? They need a little more input into their lives and a little more autonomy. So we've been able to weave that into our travel style. So now we're giving them more say in where we go and what we do. And it's working out really well. The adults are learning too, because we thought we liked to organize everything, but actually it's nice when they have input and help us choose our destinations and where to go. So our travels have changed, our style has changed quite a bit over that time. But honestly, this is the lifestyle for me. I love this so much. I'm not afraid of settling somewhere if and when the time is right, but right now this feels perfect. So
that's awesome. Yeah, we have so much in common because again, the kids, my kids are now deciding where we go, if at all. So it's nice. It's nice, but I'm trying to get them to do a little bit more research before we book everything. Okay, Emmy, what about you? You wanted to get away from the rainy Netherlands?
Yeah, actually, that was the start of it all. We had a business which it was in tourism. We had 3 supermarkets and touristic locations, so they were open only during the summer. So we're like, we can be anywhere in the world in the winter time because we didn't have to be there. So that's actually how it started. We chose to go to Mexico. It was, we chose for the winters. First, my daughter went to school there, but that didn't work out, so we continued homeschooling and online school and stuff like that. And yeah, that's actually how it started. And then like now we were traveling like on nomadic base. We are in Bulgaria for a number of months. We're in the Netherlands for a number of months for doing our hubs, and for the rest of it, we can be anywhere. So yes.
Exactly. Yeah, I love how we've all kind of created a new life and a new businesses or foundations or whatever, new projects. So that's great. I'm sure you've all been to many, many, many different countries. So maybe you can just tell me a few of your favorites if you can. I know it's hard. Patty, I'm sure Mexico is your favorite.
Yeah, we went to the Stone Soup in Bali, and I really, really, really loved Bali. I just love the culture. I just love the people were just so welcoming. I loved all their, morning rituals and all the temples. And so I would say that, well, besides Bolivia, I love Bolivia too. And it's just so hard. But I would say those two. Those are my top, Bolivia and Bali for sure.
Rachel, what about you? You've been to so many places.
I would say as a family, New Zealand was a fantastic destination just because of the people and the landscape. There's so much variety wherever you go there. Kids really loved Spain, which ended up where we were locked down in 2020, but like we really made it work and found like all the nooks and crannies and fell in love with the country and the food. And yeah, everyone kind of has different favorites. Hawaii is a big favorite of mine. I love Laos. Kids also said they enjoyed Iceland. London, everybody loves London. There's so much to do there. And it also depends. Our oldest was a fisherman, so we spent a lot of time in coastal areas. And now the younger kids like big cities. So we've done more big cities this past year. Just got done with Turkey, amazing. In Romania now, love it. So it's kind of depends what day you ask me, like what I'm in the mood for. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. What about you, Emmy?
Yeah, I have to go along with that. Depends on what day you ask me. It's also depending on what year you ask me, what month you ask me. Right now, we're heading to Dubai, which is so much. It was on my bucket list for so long. I've been there. It's amazing. I think I don't know if I have a favorite, but Mexico is like really high on our list. India, every country is my favorite for a certain for a certain month or number of months. Yes,
that's a good answer. Okay, so let's talk about why you decided to go from being a world schooling family to providing a world schooling community. So Patty, you mentioned it happened at Stone Soup, the idea, yes?
Yeah, it started there. This funny, the week that I quit my job, my mom called me that week and she's like, hey, there's this hotel in this really small Mayan village. She does Ayurveda, and I was I teach Kundalini yoga. She's like, we can do retreats. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Let's explore that idea. And so when we arrived after I quit my job, and I arrived at Stone Soup in San Miguel de Allende, and I brought this idea of there's a hotel. We were looking for community for our kids, and I knew at that time I couldn't really travel because I was taking care of my dad. So one friend came to visit us, the Mayan community, and it was just amazing because we were learning from the Mayan families, and she was just in awe. The kids were just running all day and playing, and then it just dawned on me, well, why don't we just bring world schooling community families to us instead, and it just worked out great because we were just looking for, I was mainly for my kids. community for my kids, and just to have that lifestyle that you just, go out and bike ride and, walk to in the village. And so that's how we kind of, and then the masterminds at Stone Soup, those were amazing. I remember we used to sit and everybody would bring a project, and then I, like, oh, I have a hotel, and I was thinking of, doing this, world schooling, and it just, that's where it was born. And so many families were just, I said that, yeah, do it. And I remember that night going in, I remember Zizi, she's like, just put a website out. And I'm like, that night I was putting a website out and, just put it out. And then we arrived, I think it was like a Thursday, and some of the Stone Soup families came to Anahata. So that's when it just kind of just started. And it was really just mostly for my kids, looking for community, for my kids. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. I don't know, this reminds me, I don't know if I've mentioned to you guys that when I was in Peru 5 years ago, I was renting like a room in a large property, and the Peruvian owner was trying to turn it into a B&B, but he was like 90% there. They were still doing construction. So I said, can I invite people? And he said, sure. And so I posted in one of the big World School groups, and we had like 10 families come through over a 4-month period. And, again, I wasn't like running any organized things, but it was like a walled compound. And so many kids came in, and they would just run around and build like a fort and play with the dogs and cats and the guinea pigs and stuff. It was amazing. So, that was my first taste of kind of inviting people to socialize with us and be in community. And then I did run a teen hub in Fethiye, Turkey for 1 month. So, but it's a lot of hard work. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I think it's amazing what you're all doing. Okay, Emmy, what made you decide to, gather families together in, I guess, Bansko, Bulgaria was the first one, and then you have a second one in the Netherlands. So let's talk about Bansko.
Well, actually what happened was we were in Mexico. We had this nice community that Janique built. It was an informal community, but there was a large community. It was huge. And we had that, and we had a neighborhood in which we had a lot of other world schoolers living. So we were like settled, and then COVID hit, and everybody scattered. Everything was, it was pretty much the end of what happening there. We went to Europe, and we were like, now what? We were like locked in our house in the Netherlands, and we decided to go to Bansko. We decided to go to the ski area. We asked around, Bansko wasn't mentioned, so we decided to go to Bansko. And then we're like, a lot of families were like, we want to go too. So we're like, let's start with just a get together more. People were living in their own houses the first season, and it just grew to where we are now. Also, then we added the Netherlands because of, it has so much to offer too. But it came from my own kids who were like, we don't have anyone around anymore. We're locked in our houses. They needed friends. They needed community. And that's when we're like, let's build it ourselves.
Cool.
That's pretty much,
we wanted to come and join you, but Americans were not allowed in Europe at the time. So we went to the Republic of Georgia. Sorry, Rachel, I kind of went on an order. So when did this idea of the pop-ups happen, and how did you?
So for us, it was, okay, we always tried to meet as many world schoolers as we could, but of course people are coming and going. I'm on the North Island of New Zealand, you're on the South Island, then we swapped on the same day and we missed each other. And so I just, I knew it was kind of hard to connect with people organically. It does happen. That's, honestly, it happens, and it's fantastic. But coming out of COVID, I mean, it was the same thing, where not only had we been isolated, but it was really hard to meet local people. And we're very good about meeting locals, but we were at a point where I had 2 teenagers and people were crossing the street to the other side when you're walking by, and my kids would be like, hey, you want to see a magic trick? And they're like, 6 feet apart. And it just got really, really tricky for us. And as the kids grew into adolescence, they also needed friends who understood this lifestyle, right? Like when we go back home, wherever home may be, we've changed, and our friends back home have changed. So when we actually tapped into the World School community, we didn't know what we were missing. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, people get us. Like, no one's going to ask me like, what do you mean you don't go to school? Or what do you mean you don't have a house? You don't have to go through the whole backstory. If you do, it's just because someone is like super curious, like, oh, that's cool. I wish I would have thought of that, but there's never that judgment that you may get from other people in your lives, including people who love you really, really like immensely. And so when we started, we ended up having to come back to the States. Just things got really hard to travel for a while. We continued traveling the States, but what we did is visited some World School friends of ours. And I said, hey, if we're going to stay for a month with you guys, maybe there's some other families right now that are ready to start traveling again. And so we just said, we're going to be in Bentonville, Arkansas, which is kind of the middle of the country and in the middle of nowhere. And sure enough, 8 families came and we had a blast. And within the second day, the kids are saying, oh, we have to do this again. So we ran another one later that summer. And then we're like, yeah, we can do this. And not only just for us, but for other families, because it just took someone to organize a little bit, right? Like someone needed a website, because now that you have the website, people can go there and they can find like, oh, where are these communities happening? Where else can we go to tap into this? And so what started as something for my kids, and absolutely my kids needed those social connections. I didn't realize how much I needed it and the other adults to have that validation that you can create the life you want and you can talk with other people who aren't going to talk you out of it, right? Like you don't have to go through all those questions all the time. And it's good to have answers to them, of course, but it's also really nice to have the opportunity to meet people who just support you and let you know that, yes, it's fine to create your life the way you want and how you want it for your kids and your family. And yeah, for sure. Once we tapped into this community, there was like, we need this. And not all the time, not every single week, not every single month, but part of the time, it's really healthy for us to be with other World Schoolers. So
true. Yeah. I mean, I call it lifestyle optimization, or lifestyle redesign. And I think people who, live stationary lives look at us like, why can't you just be normal? But this is why I love hanging out with other World Schoolers, because we get each other. Let's stick with you, Rachel. And if you can just talk about like how you figured out what to set up, because your project is different than, Patty's and Emmy's. You have week-long pop-ups and they're all around the world, and now other people host them. So kind of how did you come up with this idea?
So basically what I wanted to do was create something that was feasible for my family. And a lot of times when we would look at the hub options out there, it just either didn't fit our travel plan or our budget or maybe the areas that we were planning on traveling that year. So I just wanted something short and sweet, organized enough, it has enough structure to it, but also let the families have autonomy. So some people don't want like 8 a.m. this, 10 a.m. this, and the whole schedule for the day. They might say, yeah, we're going to meet you for 8, but then we're going to need to take a little break in the afternoon, and then we'll come back together later on as the evening goes on. And so I just wanted something flexible, but also something that wasn't a huge commitment for time-wise or program-wise or financially too. I just wanted just enough structure so people could come, gather, meet each other. And then once you know each other, you've created these connections. And when you have mobile friends, it's so much easier to meet up with them later down the road. And that's really been a huge benefit for us. So now we have kind of our mobile network, and I landed in a new country. I'm like, hey, who's here? And actually people are there. So either my friends or a friend of a friend. And I hate the word networking, but honestly, that's what it is. And we've found that when we have the social connections, everybody is much happier and feels more secure in this lifestyle. So I think, yeah, if I had to say it in one sentence, it was more just, I wanted to create something simple, but that still offered what we needed socially.
Cool. So you guys, basically, the main thing you have to offer is, you get everyone together and you have an itinerary of things you're going to be doing during the week, and people can pick and choose. So no, you don't help with accommodations, or there's no like learning center or anything like that, right?
Correct. Yeah. So it's just the base. We give you the structure for the week. It's a solid structure, but it's also super flexible. So families can come, they can stay in the area of town they want. We give recommendations like this area is going to be very central to our activities. which typically is a town center, which typically is a little more expensive. So then we'll also say, but if you are outside of town, maybe 20 kilometers, but right on the train line, you'll be able to buzz into town really fast. So we'll give neighborhood recommendations, we'll give transport information, and then of course the schedule. And the main reason people are coming, though, I feel, is to connect with other world schoolers, but also in a situation where you can still explore. Like, you're not sitting in a facility every day, and the families are working together and exploring together. So it's all family oriented is what we do. I think you had another piece of the question that I already forgot.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Let's
catch
get
it. Yeah.
Patty. Patty, I mean, yours started with resort accommodations, right? That's kind of where it started. So let me know how you set up the rest. Like, how did you decide what you wanted to have offered?
Yeah, I mean, it was we had no plan. We had no, nothing. Like we didn't have accounting system. It wasn't set up, as a business. Our idea was just, I had 3 goals when I left DC: was spend quality time with my kids, spiritual growth, personal growth, and just this opportunity came up, and it was just, what am I doing, and what can I just open the doors to my home, basically, and just and then just families come and enjoy it. So we've altered a lot. We've learned from different communities, from all the different communities, that what we wanted to, what worked for us as a family, what worked just for the community, what we wanted. So it's just kind of, everything was just kind of trial and error, just celebrating these failures, and what is it, how are we going to move forward next time, what worked, what didn't work. So everything has been kind of like moving. So we really didn't have a set plan. This is how we're going to do it. It was just like, the basic concept was, we provide housing, we provide food, lodging, cleaning, just so to give parents that freedom back, for their time. Kids playing, kids in freedom. And so we started at Balam. It was just completely unstructured play. There's nothing. It's just unschooling. We transitioned that to our next community. We had to leave Ikbalam because of COVID, but then we transitioned to another community where we were offering Waldorf, at that moment. And then later we offered an agile learning center. So, and all these things, like, we've learned what worked, what didn't work. But the base of it all was just housing, co-living, and, food. You don't have to cook, you don't have to clean, kids are playing, and parents can just dive into their passions. The kids could dive into passions, and then just connecting. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is just having, and I agree with Rachel, families just want connection. They want that sense of belonging. They just want that, and to continue that, So after Anahata, after families leave, they continue, they meet somewhere else, and everything flows. So I think that, it's just been kind of trial and error of how we've set up things.
Yeah,
And,
it just happened organically, and you were listening to your community members. I interviewed Carrie Shin yesterday, and she mentioned how when she spent time there, she helped you guys with the Agile Learning Center. So that's awesome. Okay, Emmy, what about you? Because you were at Bansko, and it started the same way, kind of happening organically, right?
Exactly. It was like Patty says, like, we started this thing. First we did like 3 activities a week, then we did 4, then we were 5, and then we now we have like a full program of 12 hours a day of activities. And it was not because I chose to. It's more like, the community asked for different kind of activities, more activities, different groups, different age groups. They asked for living together. So now we have a complex where we live together. Everybody has their own apartment, but it's the same complex. So kids go outside, they go to play. And that's, I think, the most valuable thing of what we offer. Like the kids, every day in the group, there's a message like, my son is going out to play, who's joining? And then there's like 20 kids playing outside together. Even if it's winter, I mean, it's amazing to see. If it's snow, they're playing in the snow. But they knock on each other's door. And this is so valuable and this is something that is not something that world schoolers have in their lifestyle. I mean, we have a team program where the teens, they just do their own thing. They just go to restaurants, they just go skiing by themselves. It's semi-organized. I mean, we do have facilitator for that, but it's for them, it's freedom. It's a very safe town where we're at. Yeah, I mean, it's for them, it's freedom, and freedom that a lot of countries don't offer.
Daughter, just to interrupt, my daughter, she's the last 2 years we've been here. She can safely go out with other teens and become more and more independent in a very safe town with other teens. So that has been fantastic for her.
Yes, exactly. That's part of what we do. So we do offer like all kinds of activities, but none of it is mandatory. People can just the only thing that we do appreciate people is the group meeting, because that's like what's building the community. That's like getting any difficulties out and keeping the good parts in and building it together. But there's besides like our schedule that has like 12 hours of activities a day, there's double that kind of activities organized by the parents themselves. So it's everybody just takes and does whatever they want or organizes whatever they want. It's just one big family living together for 1, 2, or 3 months, and then and then at the end it's really sad to leave each other.
It is, and that's going to be
a lot of people travel together also. Yeah, we have 2 days left, and we had our closing yesterday. We're getting to the end, and we see people leave, and we see people traveling together after this. Or so yeah, it's really a magical experience for sure.
Wonderful. Yeah, I do like sometimes living in the same complex, because like you said, the kids are just a complex with a big gate around it, and it's just easy. You don't have to worry. If you live separately, I feel like I had to get more involved with like scheduling and organizing play dates. And, I've been to casual hubs where, we had to put more effort into getting together and planning things. So I sometimes, as a busy solo mom of 2, I would just prefer to pay an organizer and to say, just take my money. And and again, yours is pretty economical too. And just like make sure my kids are having a good time, and they are. We're getting lots of comments here, so let me go through it real quick. Janelle Shroy is here. She says, hi, Rachel. Love your Pop-Up Hub. Kara says hi. Nicole says hi. Carly Flower, we've met her. She's Spanish. Let's see. Mara Simmons said, love that, Rachel. You don't have to tell your back story to the World Schooling community. And then she also is asking Patty where your ALC is located. And we forgot to mention you're on hiatus right now, but it's typically in the Yucatan Quintana Roo.
Yeah, so in the ALC, the Agile Learning that we tried, we're not continuing the ALC. We tried it. There's just different. It was really difficult having a community co-living with the center, because most of the ALCs is just a center that you go to, pretty much a drop off. It's So right now we are 4 hours from Cancun. It's a little fisherman town. It's called Telchac Puerto. It's an hour from Merida, and so we're not running an official community right now. But families have come just to visit, enjoy the location. It's just a beautiful little town, very peaceful. Everything's walking distance. There's tons of activities for kids, like there's a cultural center with, free activities like dancing, art, there's soccer, MMA for kids and adults, making bread. Like there's just, so it's not really official program, but if families just want to come and, enjoy the town, then they're welcome to. And that, again, we're an hour from Merida, and
that's planning in the future to reopen. Have you decided that yet?
We are in the works of having a permanent hub, and more details will come later, but that is in the works. Right now, I've just decided to focus my time with the kids. But again, that I know there's still families that are, calling, are interested and looking for, these connections and that. So, that's what we also want to, offer. It's just, there's a place where they can stay. We are not running the hotel anymore. We kind of just gave it back to the owners, and they are, we're kind of teaming up. Like if families come, they kind of manage that. That takes a load off of us. And so In the future, we will maybe do an official program, but right now, at the moment, it's just people come enjoy the Chaporto.
I will later on list your websites so people can see what you offered in the past and what Rachel and Emmy are offering now. And also, sorry to say, Louise couldn't make it today. She has a health issue that she has to take care of tomorrow. So let's all send her positive healing vibes, the whole Worldschool community. So I will hopefully interview her in the future, but I will list her website as well. And also one thing too, I forgot to mention, Emmy, is people can stay outside of this complex in their own accommodation, right? And you have a co-working space, which is very nice. Okay, so what kind of activities do you have? We've kind of talked about the kids' activities, but what kind of activities do you have for parents? Emmy, you want to go first?
Yeah, we have a full parent program too, mostly in the evenings. We are expanding our parent program based on what we saw this year, because we saw some great initiatives from the community itself. So we're going to have, I think, also an afternoon program for parents. Like we have like a lot of like fun stuff like hot springs. It's my favorite, my personal favorite. Every week
tonight.
we go to a hot spring and we spend a number of hours there, and we have like transport there so we can have some drinks and stuff like that. We have dinners, we have parents night out, karaoke, as wild and crazy as the community wants it. But we're gonna also add some, we've had an amazing family here who started some roundtables, and we're gonna copy them. We're going to do more skill sharing next year. We're going to do more because Liz, actually, she asked like, why don't we get more taught about the Bulgarian culture? So we do teach the children that, but not the parents. So we're going to do that for the parents also next year, based on your question, Liz. So yeah, we're going to expand our parent program next year for sure. And then this is Bansko. So in the Netherlands, it's our program is the whole family.
Yes, we haven't talked about that yet. So let's
exactly. So the Netherlands it's a different setup. It's we stay in a park in one place in the Netherlands, and from there every day we go in a bus and we go and explore part of the country. So we see the whole country in the month that we're there, or the 4 weeks that we were there. We do all kind of awesome activities that I would love for my family, and that's why we copy them for the group, which is like workshops, excursions, city trips, all kind of parties, celebrations, stuff like that. So just cultural. So there it's more cultural. It's more learning about the whole country in a month. Cool. And there it's like a full
in November next year. Do you know the date?
Yes, but not now. I think it's the last weekend of October that we're starting. But the whole program is probably coming up in the beginning of May that we're putting up the information.
Okay, got it. All right, Patty, what about you? Because I have been to Anahata and I went to one of your yoga classes, so that was fun. What else do you have for parents?
Yeah, I mean, we do yoga. I mean, a lot of the communities just run kind of, we don't really separate the kids from the parents. So it's kind of everything is joined, you know what I mean? But most of the, you know, we have yoga, meditation, we would go to the beach and meditate. Some kids would come, some people, you know, kids wouldn't. Right now we were diving into a lot of indigenous culture with a lot of ancestral knowledge, bringing ceremonies into the community, exposing the kids to all this culture. And it's, we've, you know, vision boards and ikigais, and there's just talks, whatever comes up in, you know, at that moment. It's a lot of personal growth activities, you know, just with adults and with the kids, and it varies, but most of it is, you know, yoga, meditation, personal growth, and these indigenous ceremonial activities that we bring shamans in to the community to teach, you know, us and the kids, and doing gratitude ceremonies, back to, you know, having gratitude for nature. And so that's really what our focus has been mostly this last community. And now, I mean, we're going to be doing a lot of workshops where people can join. and again, around this indigenous culture, and learning more of this ancestral wisdom.
Yeah, amazing. Because it's such, I mean, such a different culture compared to where a lot of us are coming from. So it's really neat to learn.
Yeah, I mean, Ikbalam, that's how we started. That was part of, you know, immersing in the culture. And that's what we want to continue immersing in that and really diving into the indigenous culture.
Yeah. Just quickly, Barbara is asking where you guys are, because I think she missed it in the beginning. So Emmy is in Bansko, Bulgaria. She also has a hub in the Netherlands. Patty is in Mexico, and Rachel currently is in Romania, but you have pop-up hubs all over the world, not just you hosting, but you have other parents now hosting, which is such a great idea. So Rachel, I'm going to be experiencing the pop-up in Florence in 2 weeks. So I think it's a nice mix of like park days, going to museums, and what else? Some sightseeing, some just hanging out and having gelato. Can you explain what you guys typically try to put together?
So when we set up an itinerary, I have a list of, I don't know, probably a dozen different things. Like, is there an active thing? Can we go on a nature walk? Can we go to an arboretum? Is there something to do with the local culture? Maybe there is a cultural demonstration or a presentation that we can, you know, get a little glimpse of this culture. We'll try to add street food or local foods and beverages. Museums, markets, parks, playgrounds, and we have such a wide variety of people who come to our events. Like, every event is different. We don't know who's going to show up. Sometimes it's like all people we know. Sometimes there's all brand new faces, and it's always wonderful. So we don't necessarily plan in, I know you were talking about adult activities, because we don't necessarily know who's going to be there at that event, but we do have a lot of flexibility within our schedule. So sometimes the teens like really hit it off with the younger kids, and the teens are like, hey, we could babysit tonight if the adults want to go to a happy hour. Or yeah, we have a couple families who are really big into rock climbing, and they're like, you know, we're going to skip the museum this afternoon. We've seen enough museums. We want to go rock climbing. Who else wants to do that? So there's a lot of flexibility built into our weeks. And you know, the families can input what they want and get out of the events what they want to. But we try to have a good mix of places that we can socialize, like in a park, let the kids run around, but then also, you know, let's go learn about this iconic site in the area we are. Like, we don't want to skip that either. So it's, you know, just a pretty good balance between having that socialization time and then having the exploration time. And sometimes, you know, it's a beach day and everybody gets what they need because the kids are playing in the water, making sandcastles, the adults are sitting back and discussing, like, how's your life going? And we ask each other some of the hard questions. And you know, I've actually done some really significant self-work just from talking to other world schoolers. You're like, hey, how does that feel when you do XYZ? I'm like, oh man, I've tried to ignore how that feels, but okay, now that we're talking about it, let's brainstorm a little bit. And so you never really know what you're going to get, but it's always a safe environment when you're talking with other world schoolers. And it's just really amazing to have that time together. So we try to build in some socialization time, but also exploration time.
That's great. Now, how many families do you typically have participating on a per session? Patty, how many have you had? I'm sure it varies.
Yeah,
I have to say, whenever you used to email that your registration's open, you sell out quickly.
Yeah, so in Ikbalam, the most we had was 8. Our second program, we had 17 families co-living together. It was a lot of fun, very challenging, but fun. This last community was very small, like just 5. And then, so we just, I mean, I think ideally, I think from, you know, all these, the communities in Anahata, I think it's just, probably like 6 to 8 families is ideal, you know, because, you know, that that's where you can really dive into a lot of, you know, kind of what Rachel was saying, you just got a lot deeper, you know, doing these sharing circles, you just really get to know each other very, very deeply. And with the 17 families, although it was amazing, it was just a little bit harder to have that deep connection. I mean, we did, but it was just, I think like 6 to 8 families is ideal.
Yeah. Well, okay, Emmy, I know you started small and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So she's like, the more the merrier. So how many have you had this past? Because you were open for 3 months. We've been here the whole 3 months. Some people can do a month at a time. So how many, not for the whole season, but like on average, how many families per month?
So we've had between 100, 115 people. So that would be like 30 families, something like that per month. And yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be it. I think we're not going to expand from here. I think it's challenging. It's amazing. I mean, there's friends for everybody, and that's why we did continue to grow and grow. But now we're at the point, like, you know, it needs to be continue to be manageable.
Yeah.
And like the complex that we're having, I mean, it cannot expand either. So I think this is going to be the growth that we will continue. Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, Rachel, what about your week-long pop-ups? Does it vary?
It absolutely varies. Yeah, typically I would say 8 to 12 families per pop-up, but sometimes we have a really intimate group of 3 or 4. Sometimes we have 26 or 30. So we never know. And I haven't quite figured out like the magic formula. You know, are budget-friendly destinations more popular? Are destinations that are well-connected, airport-wise more popular? Like we just never know which one is going to like explode. And like you said, there are management issues. I feel like we're doing a really good job with large groups because it does mean there are more people there and you're more likely to find someone that you really connect strongly with. And we help people break off into smaller groups so it's not intimidating for any families. But I would say for the most part, that 8 to 12 family range is about what we're hitting.
Sounds good. All right, let's talk about pricing. I know that there's a couple hub businesses out there that are a little high, very high priced, and they're trying to make a profit. I keep telling people, because I've seen you guys, it's more of a labor of love. It supports your, hopefully your family, right? And you get to do this too, but it's not like you're getting rich doing this. So, but there are costs. I mean, accommodation and you have staff and other things going on, supplies. So who wants to go first and kind of explain your pricing structure? Patty?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to. It varied, but it was average about like $2,000 for, you know, family of 4, from 2,000 to 2,500, which, you know, per month. Yeah. Which covered the lodging, the food, the cleaning, all the activities. You know, there were some external activities that were not included, or we would bring some shamans in or something, then, you know, it was extra, or if we wanted to, as a group, do extra things, then, you know, it'd be extra, but everything was included. And I mean, this is a labor of love. It's not, we don't make money unless you're charging thousands and thousands of dollars, but it is not. And so, that was like about the average, about 2,000. I mean, and the structure that, you know, right now that we're having now, where people can just come and, you know, they just rent their hotel, their lodging, and, you know, that's it. I mean, they just do
Right.
lodging.
But when you have your organized hub.
Yeah.
Okay, go. Emmy, what about you?
I think for a family of 4, it would be like somewhere like €1,500 per month. And that would include all the organized activities. When there were like outside activities, and there was an extra fee for that, that would be extra. It also included the housing. Yeah, that was this year. We're gonna have to look at it for next year if we can do it for the same amount. That was Bansko, by the way. Netherlands is more expensive because I mean, all the excursions are included, all the transport is included there. Everything in the Netherlands, everything is included except for the food. And that was about 1,500 per person, I would say, depending on the size of your family. For smaller families, it would be like maybe 1,700. For larger families, it would be more close to 1,000, but somewhere in that.
Okay, you gave a volume discount. Okay, so Rachel, yours is a deal because you don't have accommodations or include food or any of that kind of stuff. So let us know about your pricing structure.
So we offer a week-long pop-up for $100 because we wanted it to be accessible to everybody, and families then pay for their own transport, their own meals, their own entrance fees. And again, they have that autonomy. So we were just in Istanbul. We went one of the days we had an option to go to the Dolmabahce Palace, which ended up roughly being about $25 a ticket. And families were like completely comfortable saying, you know what, we're going to duck out of that one. We just saw a palace earlier, and you know, it doesn't fit our interests or budget right now. And it's super simple. Like, it's just pay what you want, add on the activities you want. And sometimes we have like really cool activities like, there is a hot air balloon ride. It's $150 a person, but it is here and it is available. And then the families who want to do that can coordinate together. And it's just a nice structure. So you add on what you want, but the $100 basically gets the itinerary, all the communication groups, and the connections with the other World Schoolers.
Yeah, and your admin fit. I did look at your website, and I guess, now that other parents are hosting them, you keep a portion because you're running the website and, promoting it and administrating it. And then they get to keep a portion. And I think it's, because again, we're going to go to the one in Florence, and I'm trying to pitch the idea to my daughter for us to host one in the future. And so I think for us, again, we're not making lots of money from it, but hopefully it'll pay for our time in that town, so I think that's a great idea. Let's talk about the challenges. Now, some of you know that I used to own a brick and mortar children's business, different than a World School Hub, but customers can be difficult, and you have staff and things go wrong. It's a ton of work. I worked 7 days a week, and I know you guys do too when you're up and running. So what are some of the challenges that you've had launching and running and operating your community? Patty, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, there's again, it's a labor of love, right? Diving into this, running a community is you're passionate about it. You just love people, you love connection. It's not, again, you're not making money. I mean, I think also as a community organizer or manager, I feel like, my job is to kind of hold space, for families that are coming in. And so a lot of times, there's triggers that, living with, with so many families, you're going into dive deep into personal growth, so triggers will come up, how to manage that. So you're holding that space, you're holding space for the families, for yourself, the kids. So I would say that I think the most challenging, though, I feel like, is my time with my kids. I feel like I've been pulled in so many different directions. And then at times I'm like, well, I'm doing this for the kids, but yet, I can't be there for them, So that has been quite challenging. Sometimes the expectations of the families, us being more clear of okay, this is what we are, this is what we're not, this is what, and so arriving and expecting other stuff, just so clear communication on there. We also are hotel managers, there's so many components to it, because when we're co-living, you're managing a hotel, you're managing emotions, you're managing, the kids and the different parenting styles. At the end of the day, it's beautiful, because there's just so much growth and so much connection and so much deep friendships that develop from all this. But these are the challenges, and providing food, food allergies, okay, now gluten-free, and then so providing all that. So that was a little bit of challenging. I mean, we've learned throughout how to navigate that, throughout the communities. But I think those are the biggest challenges. I think for me, my person is saying goodbyes are really, really, really hard. I think at the beginning, you're what? We've been together for these 3 months and now you're leaving. And so, but I think it's also beautiful, because it's not like a goodbye. It's a see you later. And we meet again somewhere else. And it's just you just become this beautiful family, and we just had some families here in Merida, and the kids just kind of, they've known each other, so they just kind of started playing, and so you just become, this kind of extended family. So, so yeah, I think those were, I guess, the biggest challenge is just making sure you have the right staff, the right people that are the right support, and mostly making sure that you are taken care of. Making sure that you're self-care, make sure that you're staying in my center to make sure that we're holding that space for all these beautiful families that join us.
Oh, that's a great answer. Emmy, what about you?
I fully agree with what Patty said. The time management, that's the most challenging. We started this for our family, but especially this season, I was like, we didn't get to enjoy the community as much because we're so much managing the community that, that's something that we're going to work on this summer to make sure, you know, that we can enjoy it more instead of only managing it. Also, not only when we're running the hub, it's year round. I mean, it's preparations. There's so many people who have questions about what we're doing, about the hubs that we're doing. You know, everybody has a lot of questions. It's a business in that sense. You have to do everything by yourself. Like you do the management, the management yourself. You do the marketing yourself. So it's a lot. So that is the most challenging. Like, how do we manage our time better that we can enjoy it more? And like Patty said, I mean, it's not a paid job, so it's something, you know, we do out of love, and so we do need to get out of that what we wanted, the hub. So that's
you're running yours as a foundation, Emmy.
The what?
You're running yours as a foundation.
Yes, we're running it as a foundation, so we're not getting a paycheck out of it. So other than that, it's also the like Patty said, like, you know, the managing of the expectations, getting the right energy in a group, getting the right mix of people that can create an awesome time together. That's also a challenge that we found.
Yeah, because I think some people have high expectations. They think they're going to the Four Seasons Resort and stuff, and they don't understand it's a community. I interviewed Carrie Shin yesterday, and she had this beautiful thing to say about this Western mentality of being transactional. You know, it's like, we're paying you some money to go to your hub, therefore you owe us this. And people have such high expectations. And you know, she's creating this Agile Learning Center in Florida, and she's trying to create it where everyone comes and gives, you know, has this very giving kind of cooperative, like we're part of the community kind of a vibe, versus like, I'm giving you money, so you owe me this. And again,
this is what we have set up. Like, you know, everybody is here to participate in the community. Yeah. You're contributing to the community, and right. That works amazing. Yeah,
exactly. And I interviewed Boundless a few weeks ago, and they're much more high price, $6,000 to $10,000 a month. So I think if people want those expectations met, they should go there. And actually, Emmy, you've had a lot of Boundless families come to Bansko, and it's interesting because they can do the high end thing and more of the budget cooperative thing. So that's really nice.
Yeah, they were amazing families that we've had from coming over here.
Rachel, what have been the challenges for you guys?
I would reiterate exactly what these ladies just said. It's protecting your own time outside of running the hubs. I mean, running the hubs, that's the fun part when you're part of the community and doing all the things. Yeah, but it's just in the background. There's a lot that goes on. That, if you've never organized something like this, you don't know like how many random questions you get and how many, you know, little. And it's things like, you know, I'm a people person. I want to be very personable and talk to people and calm your fears. But we do field a lot of questions in the background, and we're always holding that space for the participants and the world schoolers. Like, we want you to find community. We want you to have a really good time. So managing the expectations and just, you know, the business stuff in the back end without having that affect too much about how we're enjoying our own lives too. Like right now, I travel full time, and I realize, oh, I just spent 2 hours on that today when really I wanted to be out like checking out the church and the town square. And yeah, so it's one of those things that you learn as you go. And I mean, we've learned so much and have added so many skills to our skill set, and it's been fantastic. So even though there's challenges, you know, we can overcome them.
Sure. Yeah. Again, when I ran my children's business, I think people think, oh, this is so much fun, this lifestyle business, you know, you get to be with all these other families, and they have no idea all the behind the scenes, like hard work, the blood, sweat, and tears that we put in, and times that you're crying because you're so overwhelmed. It's so stressful. But again, in the end, the awesome families that we meet make it worthwhile. What would you advise other families who want to follow your footsteps, follow your trailblazing families, and launch their own hub or pop-up? Because I am really hoping that more of these pop up around the world, because we need community all around the world. And I really believe that, world schooling is going to be growing, more people will be digital nomads. And so you guys are the trailblazers, the pioneers that have created them. But what advice would you have for people who want to consider launching one? Don't do it or do it?
I would say definitely do it. It definitely has challenges, but the amazing deep connections and friendships that have been developed are just amazing. And just to watch these kids flourish, watch babies grow. We have little Emma who was like a little tiny baby, remember? And now she's just, growing to just watching all that, the other thing is like, I'm not the same person that I started, 5 years ago with Anahata to what I am. So there's a lot of personal growth that happens, in all this. And I highly recommend it. It's one thing that I would say is definitely make sure that you know what works for you first, so you can stay in your center, and then what you can offer after that, and just taking care of yourself. But I would say definitely do it. It's just amazing. And I do want to, this has been a dream to have these communities all over the world. And that was like, we started, we can do, have it all over the every continent, and it's happening and I love it. And I just want to, is it okay if we do a little shout out to some Anahata families that have started their communities?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. I know there's Nadia who is doing it in Egypt, I believe. I have it down Wildlife World School. And I just think it's great. And there's Robin, who's just the Wanderlust, who's I think will be doing it in Australia. Britain, who's in Nicaragua, and I think that she might be doing a summer program. I'm not sure. And again, Carrie yesterday, starting her Agile Center, and I just want to say, we are, holding this space for all these beautiful families. And sometimes like these families come where, the new families that are scared, and we're holding that space for them. Or single moms that are tired and they just want some rest. And so we're, and so I think it's beautiful work. And I just say, keep up, do it, definitely do it. It's just, what comes out of it is just so amazing, and just continue sharing that love and that connection throughout the world. I think it's beautiful.
You guys are an inspiration. You're inspiring others to launch their own communities. That's amazing. Emmy, what advice would you have for people who are thinking about launching a hub or community or pop-up?
I think what I've seen with people trying to launch and the people who are doing it, do not do it. Do not take your own needs as the center. Well, for yourself, yes, of course, but not for the hub. Look at the needs of the community and build your activities and everything like that around that. If you put your own needs of what you're trying to offer, then it's very limited in that sense.
But can't there be like a nice compromise? Because you have
yes, of course. I mean, we're doing this and we're attracting people with the same needs for sure. But like, for example, I have a 15-year-old and a 9-year-old, but we're also offering for babies or for, so look wider than just your own needs, and look at the needs of the community, what they are, and then adjust to that. I think that's my personally my most important advice I could give. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. And Rachel, I mean, you are encouraging other parents to, host a pop-up. So you're already doing it, but what advice do you give them?
So it's absolutely rewarding. I mean, I think it's just, like you said, labor of love. It is so fantastic bringing these families together. And then the host also gets to participate in that community. So like, that you're providing a service, but you're also receiving that service yourself. And it's such a rewarding experience. And I would absolutely tell people, yes, if you want to go create something, it is worth it. If you're interested in just getting your foot in the door and finding out what it's like, so people can hire me, and then I help you put an event onto our website. So now all of a sudden I know about branding. That's a new life skill for me. And so we take everybody's ideas and we put them into the same format. And I just say, like, here are my parameters I need for your event to be on our website. And then we work with the hosts, and I do all the back end advertising and do all the ticket collecting and all the busy work basically. And they work on writing out the itinerary and getting themselves to that area. And then they get to appreciate the community that they created. So for our hosts, we've had hosts come back and do multiple events with us, and we've had other people, chat with us about activities and creating events with us and saying, we want to do something more because our program doesn't have like an education piece. Sometimes we go do educational projects, like in St. Petersburg, Florida. They had a lionfish dissection class. So like we went and paid $5 to go to the lionfish dissection, but it's not something that I personally offer. Like I'm not going to hire a teacher for just a 1-week thing. So it's pretty flexible with what we do and don't add to the itineraries, but it's just a nice way for people to get their foot in the door with the Worldschool community and just see if this indeed is something their family likes to do, because I think your whole family needs to be on board. I mean, you don't want to be yanking kids around the world and saying, okay, now we have to do this. And they're like, I can be part of this, but it's just an easy way to start and see if it's a good fit for your family and for your community.
I know you all attract Worldschool newbies as well as experienced Worldschoolers too. So that's great. It's a great way to try it out. I'm going to read some of the comments. I think we're going to wrap it up because I think we've gone over an hour. You guys are so much fun to talk to. But just everyone, if you have any last minute questions, please put them in. Marjorie says your hub initiatives are inspiring. I'd love to organize one in the future. Yay. Michaela says, hi, Rachel. Mara says, great to hear, Patty Rojas. Thanks for sharing. Love hearing each of your stories and journeys. Most inspiring. Yes, again, I wanted to thank you all for sharing your personal stories as well as your hub community stories. It's been super inspirational. And Kara said, I love the casual hangouts for adults at Rachel's pop-ups. I mean, they happen with all of you. And Barbara says she's Dutch and in the Netherlands. Yeah, so those are the comments. We'll just hang out for another second or two to see if there's any last minute questions. But is there anything that I forgot to ask you that you wanted to share? We will be posting your websites there, or and feel free to come to my group and post any Facebook groups or whatnot if I forgot. But I encourage everyone to go to all of your communities. Again, I'm a customer, participant in all three of yours. And Louise, unfortunately, she couldn't make it today. We are thinking about going to her Luxor hub next winter. So we hopefully will interview her in the future and find out more about her wonderful hub. Emmy, you're good friends with her, so you know a little bit about her hub. You haven't been though, have you?
No, I want to go and I haven't been able to yet. And next winter is not going to be, because our hubs are mainly in the same time. So that's why we haven't been able. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Anyway, any last words of advice or tips or encouragement to all the Worldschool newbies other than come join us?
My thing that I would say is enjoy hubs for sure. But like I don't know who said it. I think Rachel said it, like a hub and then travel with your family, and then a hub and travel with your family. That's my perfect combination for my family. Community, family, community, family. Yeah, that's
great. That is a great tip. This is what we do too. Okay, well, thank you so much. Amazing, trailblazing, worldschooling mamas and leaders and organizers. I'm so grateful that you came and shared your story. Thanks so much.
And Liz, thank you so much for, for the space that you're providing for all these families, the new families that are coming. Because I remember when I started, I was like, everything was overwhelming. And I just wish I had this when I first started. So
well, I want to encourage more people to travel out there in the world with us.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really inspiring, Liz, what you're doing. So thank you for that.
Thanks. Awesome. Well, I'll see you at the hot spring tonight, Emmy.
Yes.
And Rachel, I'll see you in a couple weeks. And Patty, I hope to see you in the next year or so. Okay, thanks for watching. This is Lizz Quain with Trailblazing Families. My twins and I have been traveling and world schooling for over 6 years, and I'm happy to share about our experiences. Make sure to check out the other videos on this channel. I do have a playlist of all the other interviews of other world schooling families and service providers. We're all happy to share our information and wisdom about how to best live this world schooling digital nomad and family travel lifestyle. If you're new to world schooling and need a bit of help, I do have a super comprehensive 12-week program on how to travel extensively as a family and how to world school, how to educate your kids. There's many different ways to do it. So reach out to me and schedule a no obligation Zoom meeting so we can have a quick chat and see if my program is a good fit for you. Thanks and happy trails.